Welcome to a special edition of Justice. I'm Judge Jeanine Pirro. Tonight, an hour-long investigation into the dangers facing the U.S. power grid. What would it take to bring it down? And if our system did break down, how would you survive? And what would it be like in the dark? I'm in Lower Manhattan right now, standing in front of a power station, a typical power station. But last month I went to a meeting just a few blocks from here in the freezing cold. But when I came out of that meeting, I was frozen. Not from bitter temperatures, but from fear. I learned things that no one is talking about. Things that can change my life, your life, and the lives of everyone you know forever. I started thinking about how fragile life is and how ill-prepared we are for this. Tonight, in an exclusive justice investigation, the vulnerability of America's power system, the United States electric grid. Are we ready for a terror attack? And what would we do if the lights went out? Now, tonight is about a series of forces and individuals who, instead of doing the right thing for you and me, are playing politics and gambling with your safety and our way of life. Now, who of us could ever envision 9/11 happening? But the difference between 9/11 and what I'm about to tell you is that we know that this can happen. The question is not will it happen, but when will it happen? And the consequences would be 1,000,000 times worse than 9/11. One day, you're enjoying the comforts of life. The next, everything is different. Civilization as you know it would be gone. An electromagnetic pulse would destroy all electronics and the transformers that power everything, anything, with an on-off switch. Your hot water heater, your refrigerator, your dialysis machine. Hospitals are closed. Grocery shelves are empty. Most of the food you have at home is spoiled. And forget about your bank accounts. It doesn't matter. What you have in your pocket is all you can access. I imagine myself waking up to total darkness. Nothing in my home working. Food spoiled. Water not running. I rummage through whatever last cans of food I can find. I'm alone because my kids and loved ones have no way to get to me. And I'm afraid to leave because it's too dangerous. People are desperate. They're hungry. Our civilization thrown back to the dark ages. I'm scared and helpless, and I don't know how I can survive. If there were to be such a catastrophic failure, our death toll would be staggering. A blue ribbon commission predicting mass fatalities, horrific loss of life, some even saying 9 out of 10 Americans would die. This is not science fiction. It's real. And tonight we'll tell you about the ways that it could happen. Solar flare. Scientists are watching the largest sunspot in almost 25 years, sending out flares that disrupt navigation systems and radio communications. The sunspot is 20 times the size of the surface of the Earth. The flares then produce as much energy as 1 billion nuclear bombs. So what happens if there's a direct hit from a giant solar flare? With me now, the founder and president of the Center for Security Policy, Frank Gaffney. Good evening, Frank. So what does happen if there is this giant solar flare that hits us?
Well, it's a matter of some speculation, but I think the general consensus among scientists is it's going to be very bad for an electrified society like ours. What we have to go by is an event that happened about 155 years ago when a similar-sized solar storm caused mass disruption of the only sort of quasi-electrified system we had at the time, which were telegraph offices and wires. They caught on fire. This society, dependent as it is on electrification, and systems that would be devastated by this kind of electromagnetic energy would probably grind to a screeching halt, and the loss of life as a result would be in the tens, if not hundreds of millions.
All right, Frank, you and I on this show have talked a lot about the fact that the grid needs to be strengthened to withstand these solar flares, which seem to be on the increase as of late. The impending Carrington event, which is going to happen, is just a question of when. So why is it that the local electric companies are not strengthening the grid on their own?
Well, it's kind of unbelievable. You know, the NASA put out a press release after the second anniversary of one of these very close calls 2 years ago, and they said the probability of this happening in the next decade is 12%. That's a little better than Russian roulette with a 6-cylinder revolver, but not much. And the question is an apt one, Judge, and I think the answer is the utilities have to this point, and they own 85% of the assets of this infrastructure, this critical grid. They have been able to sort of brazen it out to this point. There's a Federal Energy Regulatory Commission that's supposed to oversee them, but essentially they write their own standards. And to this point, they have chosen to dumb down the standards to the point where, against this kind of intense electromagnetic solar storm kind of event, the only protection we're likely to see is not really for the grid, it's liability protection for these industries.
Okay.
And that's a scandal.
We've talked about this before. FERC is almost like a trade union for these local electric companies. What do we need?
Well, that's the North American Electric Reliability Corporation, right, or NERC. FERC is overseeing them, but there's something called regulatory capture that's at work here, it seems. They are not providing the kind of independent oversight. Maybe that's because they're populated by a bunch of lawyers and political hacks instead of scientists and engineers.
The energy given off by the sun. The SDO satellite records the ultraviolet radiation released by our star. Charged particles, fractions of atoms, protons, electrons, and neutrons are constantly thrown out, along with massive pulses of electromagnetic radiation. But occasionally, the sun throws out what's known as a coronal mass ejection. This supercomputer visualization shows a cloud of plasma millions of kilometers wide, racing towards the Earth. If these solar particles were free to hit the Earth's surface, they would do serious damage to any living thing, producing fatal mutations in their DNA. Fortunately, the Earth has a defense. An invisible force field called the magnetosphere surrounds our planet, visualized here in unprecedented detail. These images are generated by data from 5 magnetically tuned satellites. Called Themis, the network of spacecraft reveals the force field as it is constantly bombarded by the sun. The shape of the field is produced by the sheer force of the radiation hitting it. A nebulous teardrop 200,000 miles in diameter. As wave upon wave of solar particles strike the magnetosphere, most are deflected. But when a coronal mass ejection arrives, the charged particles peel open the magnetic field's outer layer. The particles are now free to rush in towards the planet. The Earth's inner magnetic field steers the radiation towards the poles, triggering one of nature's most remarkable sights. The Northern and the Southern Lights. And here, we can see the Earth's second layer of defense. Giant ribbons of plasma stream downwards, encircling both the North and South poles. As they strike the upper atmosphere at extreme speed, they excite the molecules of air. The process makes the air molecules glow. The oxygen radiates red and green, the nitrogen blue. Energy that would otherwise mutate all life on Earth is dissipated by the upper atmosphere. In this way, the Earth has shielded itself from the sun's deadly radiation.
What has been will be again, what has been done will be done again, there is nothing new under the sun. Ecclesiastes 1:9. The first time around, Satan and the other fallen angels came to earth and created an offspring of giants, but the sons of God saw that the daughters of men were beautiful, and they took wives for themselves, whomever they chose. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God came in to the daughters of men, and they bore children to them. Those were the mighty men who were of old, men of renown. Genesis 6:2 and 4. These giants would have two goals. One would be to breed out the seed of Adam and Eve's descendants. The second would be to build a machine that could access the gateways talked about through Scripture, a machine that could access heaven and hell, to free Satan and the other angels. This would be the reason for the impossible pyramids built around the world and even at the bottom of what is now oceans. These pyramids were built on the Earth's natural energy lines or ley lines, and were aimed at harnessing the energy produced by the Earth's rotation. The Earth, however, emits a natural 432 Hz frequency, which at the time supported a vapor canopy around the Earth, and God said, "Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters." Genesis 1:6. This is why people lived so long before the flood and only up to 120 after the flood. The sun's radiation ages us more than any other factor. Anyways, this machine altered Earth's frequency and brought down the firmament and triggered God's preordained judgment with a great flood. The second time around, the fallen angel seed and the giants re-emerged through Ham's children. One can only assume his wife must have carried the DNA. And wouldn't you know it, this time they got right back to the same stuff. They said, "Come, let us build for ourselves a city, and a tower whose top will reach into heaven, and let us make for ourselves a name, otherwise we will be scattered abroad over the face of the whole earth." The Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the sons of men had built. The Lord said, "Behold, they are one people, and they all have the same language." And this is what they began to do, and now nothing which they purpose to do will be impossible for them. Come, let us go down and there confuse their language, so that they will not understand one another's speech. So the Lord scattered them abroad from there over the face of the whole earth, and they stopped building the city. Genesis 11:4 and 8. The geography at this time was what we call the supercontinent before God drifted the current continents into their places. The whole land was under the rule of the first Antichrist, Nimrod, and his one-world government. God basically postponed all of this until we would see such things repeat in the last days with another Antichrist and another one-world government. And now here we are, the third and final time around, but as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Matthew 24:37, only this time, the machine you are about to learn about, instead of affecting the vapor canopy and triggering a flood, when this machine is running at full power it creates a magnetic field stronger than Earth's magnetic field, thereby weakening Earth's field. The people that run this machine are now fully aware of this effect and the power that they hold to unleash temporary chaos upon the Earth.
I got one more question and John's coming on.
Okay.
I'm biting at the bit.
Can't wait. It's something, it's called CERN. It makes me very concerned.
Mm-hmm.
C-E-R-N. The Hadron, I think it's pronounced, Hadron Collider. Okay? It's turned on 2 days from today, so when you watch the show, it's already on, unless they have a breakdown. Do you want to tell the people what it is? I have pictures. There's one, there it is on the screen.
Yeah.
This is the biggest machine in the world. How many until today did not know about this? Raise your hand. Raise your hand. Come on. That's almost 100%. 99% of this audience never heard of this. This is the biggest machine ever made in the world in history. I believe it's 17 miles long. It's in France and Switzerland. If you see a map, it's the map, it's a circle.
It would be almost 5 miles across.
And the reason they buried it under the ground is because they might have an oops. And you know, back when we were testing nuclear warheads, we'd take them deep down underneath the earth because you wouldn't want to blow one of these up on the surface of the earth, right?
Right.
I'm curious how they got permission to dig that many miles under France and under Switzerland. And this is what the headline, I don't know if it's just this week, I think. This is the headline. Stephen Hawking, he called the God particle could destroy the universe. He keeps warning. He's supposed to be one of the most brilliant minds ever in history. And he keeps warning that this, he calls it God particles. Do you understand this at all?
Well, the Higgs,
I don't.
The Higgs boson is traditionally called the God particle, and part of what they want to do with the collider, it's not the only thing they're doing there, is they want to see if they can discover the Higgs boson, or the God particle. Essentially, we Christians would say they're looking for how God holds everything together. That's why they call it the God particle.
Well, I read where it's what you're made up of. And what all matter, I guess, is made up of.
That's exactly right. It's what we're made up of. It's also what's holding us together. They're trying to find Jesus, but they don't want to find Jesus. So they're trying to find what is it that holds all matter together. That's one of the things they're looking for. What CERN does, that big circle, it accelerates particles in that big circle around and around and around and around until they're traveling at just enormous velocity, and then they collide these particles together. And in that moment, it creates a moment that they think is kind of how the Big Bang started the whole universe. That's the whole purpose behind it. However, they also believe that there are parallel realities around us, other dimensions, and there could be other intelligence there. Another thing we Christians already know, right? Why not just come and ask us? You don't need to build a collider. However, there's a reason God put them on the other side of that veil, and you might not want to open the door.
Oh.
And here's the thing. Their own director of CERN has gave interviews to the British press in which he admits that's what they're trying to do. They want to open a door to another dimension. And he said, when we open this door, he said, something might come through it into our reality, or he said, we might send something through it into their reality. You can look that up. It's in the British press. Where the CERN was built, this is St. Genus Powili. That's the name of the township. But in ancient days, guess what it was called? It was called Apaliacum. It was literally a temple to the god Apollo because they believed that's the gateway to the underworld.
I saw a goddess. And I was looking at all these pictures. That's her.
Shiva. Actually, they built. They have the god, the Hindu god of destruction that destroys at the molecular level, is right out in front of the offices of CERN, and it's dedicated to Shiva.
I'm going to put it on the screen. You'll show it.
It's so
because I've seen it, and I said, "This is a false god." What in? I couldn't find anything about it because I need to get some books and read a little bit more. But you go online and type in the Hadron, or you can actually type in CERN. CERN comes up with all of it as well. And all the pictures, it's the most beautiful. I mean, it's like Satan. It's the most beautiful thing. I mean, for a guy, it's like the biggest Tinker Toys in the world. I mean, it's beyond the blues, the reds, the colors in this thing. And yet, there's a goddess at the offices, where they go to work there, that build this thing. And you say, well, it's not important for us to know. It's time for the church to stop glorifying ignorance.
Yeah.
I'm serious.
That's good.
He said, I don't want that day to come upon you unaware.
Yeah.
Tom, help me out. You have a brilliant mind.
Oh, my goodness.
You have an inquiring mind, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I'm kind of like you. I have a dangerous mind.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Yeah.
Just get in trouble all the time.
Yeah.
Do you want to say anything else about that? Because
Well,
I got one last question, then we're going to...
Just that's it, that it's named after Apollyon, the gateway to the god Apollo. But what does the book of Revelation say? Yeah, absolutely, that an angel comes down with a key to the bottomless pit and opens that gateway. And guess who is the god down in there? The king over the bottomless pit, Apollyon, Abaddon, the king of the bottomless pit. And we're trying right there to open a gateway.
You're smart, lady.
That is, yeah.
The front row lady.
Yeah, I'll get her to make some notes for me. I'll use them next time.
Incredible.
Yeah.
This is shocking.
Jim, can I say one comment here?
And I knew,
just
John, because you know what's going on.
Well,
Go ahead.
you know, when we was talking back there, I said, you know, it sounds to me like you're describing they're trying to open the door, to the gate to hell.
Right.
Okay? Well, here's the thought. God literally sealed and locked demons into the earth that would not be released until the last days. And now we have evidence that man is the one that's trying to open the door and release them.
Right. Right.
It's really crazy. It's right there in Revelation 9.
You know,
right?
if I was a teenager, I would really be excited about this. Because they love supernatural. They love all of the drama.
Sasha's over here going crazy.
I really am.
She's
Honestly,
like this.
I'm listening to this conversation and I'm taking notes. Like my format is completely full. But as you're talking about the bottomless pit, I'm like, wait, we just learned this yesterday. I'm flipping to Revelation 9, reading along with what you're teaching. You're not even teaching from the Bible per se, but you're just teaching what they're doing. And I'm reading it out of my Bible, literally. This is what we talk about every day on the show when we say we're living in the Revelation times. And when you can open your Bible, read the news, and they go parallel together, these are the times we're living.